There's good and bad in every skin color. It's not just a whole race that is, one way. Everybody's different. Yeah, everybody is different. We all have talents, and some of us have the same talent from different races. Yeah. When I was in university, I I studied music, and I went to one of the biggest universities in America, a private school. I got a full music scholarship to go. It was so wonderful. Yeah, I mean there were Asian people, there were white people from all over. Yeah, there were musicians from South America. There were African musicians there, and that was our common denominator concerning talents. I mean, common denominators were all human, but we had a same talent of music, and we were an orchestra, and we played brilliantly. And this orchestra was consisted of people from many, many cultures, from many different parts of the world. This is the power. Yeah, this is healing power, and this has nothing to do with skin color, but it shows you that everybody has has a talent, that everybody is, you know, that you may have the same talent of somebody with a different skin color. That shows you the common denominator is we are human. We are ikje. Yeah. I see people, they make posts on Facebook and they'll say, proud to be Lakota, or proud to be Native. I really don't like that because that's separating yourself. Our ancestors never talk like that. They never said, I'm proud to be Lakota. In fact, the word Lakota didn't even exist in the beginning. In the beginning, they called themselves Ikche. They never said Lakota. Yeah? They said Ikche, and that's human. This is a human nation. This is the most important thing. So I don't like it when people say those kind of things like proud to be Lakota and things like that. I don't like that because that's not the way of our ancestors. Yeah, the way of our ancestors is to work with one another, to find like-minded people, and that has absolutely nothing to do with skin color. Nothing. And to find like-minded people, that means you have to take the time to know somebody. Yeah, you have to take that time because it's going to be if it turns out to be friendship, it's going to be one of the best ones. Yeah, I know this because I do this in my life now. I have really good friends all over the world. And I'm in a much better situation this way than if I just talk to Indians. That's not good. I'm limiting myself and I'm being a racist. If I just say I'm only going to talk to other Lakota people and nobody else, I'm being a racist. This is not the reason why we were created like this. Yeah? Everybody should learn a second language and to learn to see another perspective. Another thing I really don't like is I hear a lot of Native American racists that will say um, they will say what do you call it? What was the thought I had in my mind? Native American racists will say that English is a bad language, and that's so stupid. Yeah, that is so stupid. Yeah, to say that. Yeah, because if you examine the English language, it's it has It has things from many languages. Yeah, English is not a white man's language. Yeah, it's you hear native racists will always say, "That's the Washichu." They trick you with English language. Yeah, and that's that's racist, and it's really stupid. Yeah, it's really really stupid to talk like that, because in our culture we have stories of Lakota people tricking others using the Lakota language. The language that's bad or good. It's the person speaking it. And good and bad exist in all colors, all all cultures, all skin colors I meant to say. Yeah? So when these native racists say that English is that's a white man, that's a washichu, that's a bad language. That's that's stupid and it's incredibly racist because for one thing, the word washichu is not a bad word. Washichu is not a bad word, not at all. If you're going to say Washichu is a bad word, then guess what? Lakota is a bad word too. Yeah? If you say Washichu is a bad word, then Oglala is a bad word. Sicangu is a bad word. Hunkpapha is a bad word. Sisitrouan, Wachbekute, Wachbetrouan, Bidiwakantrouan. Yeah? Then you're saying all those people are bad. They have bad words too. Because the word Washichu was created in a way to extend fellowship to the white people. Almost all names in of people in Lakota language, they have a funny story behind it. Because humor is a huge part of our language, our culture, yeah, and our spirituality too. Humor is a big part of our language, culture, and spirituality. If you walk around saying, "Oh, hello, brother tree," "Oh, hello, sister hummingbird," and ha ha ha, you're just prancing around the wilderness or the mountains, and you're all serious, you're sick, yeah, because that's not how we are. Yeah, humor is incredibly important. If you can't laugh, then you're sick. Yeah. So these words, they were created as a way to extend fellowship to each other. That's part of our culture. So washichu is not a bad word. Okay, now let's look at the English language. The English language, it has its origin in a whole bunch of places. Yeah, it doesn't come from uh, just the white, England. It doesn't just come from there. Yeah, there's there's words that are Latin origin. There's words that originate from the Phoenician times, and these are not white people. Okay, these are not white people. Even the counting. This is this is Arabic. Yeah, the numbers 1, 2, 3, and like that. Those are Arabic. They're not white. Man, so all you Native American racists, which mostly are activists, they're so full of shit. You're stupid, yeah, because the, the English language is not a bad language. Absolutely not. Read some Shakespeare, yeah. Shakespeare has written some very powerful things, and he's white, yeah. And there's lots of songs that really can explain things in a very beautiful way in English. So it's not the language that's bad. It's the person speaking it and how they're speaking it. And how they're speaking it is a reflection of what's going on inside of their mind. So when you look at these Native American activists and they're saying English is wa shi chu, that's how they say it, yeah, wa shi chu. And another really dumb thing that especially Lakota racists use is the word washichula. Yeah, I don't know about that washichula. I really don't like that washichula. The Lakota racists will talk like that, and this is so funny because see in the Lakota language, whenever something is very special to you, to your heart, to your soul, yeah, something that's very endearing to you, that it means so much that you can't live without it. Whenever you're talking about something like that, you put the suffix la at the end of the word. Do you understand? The word is washichu, but if you say washichu la, that means that white person is really special to you. Because some of us, we have good friends, we have partners who are white. And so we will call them Washichula because these people are special to us. My Irish sisters are special to me. Cherie in France is very special to me. And so I can call them that, Washichula, and that's not a bad word. This when adding the word la makes it special. Yeah, it makes it like these people are so important to me. They're such a vital part of my life. That's what la means. So I got an email several years ago from this guy on the Rosebud Sioux Reservation, and he was talking about some Belgian guy who is he's married to a Lakota woman, and he was asking me, about this guy, and he asked me, "Do you think it's right that this guy, whatever, 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 because he's a Washichu La?" He said. he he really put him down, and I really had to laugh because this shows me that this guy doesn't know how to speak his own language. Wichinchala, Hoksila, Tungashila, Lala, Unchila, Mitankala, Misunkala. You see these words la at the end. That's because these are all like my son, my daughter, my little boy, little girl. All these are special. Grandma, grandpa, yeah. And so you put la at the end because they're special to you. That's what la does to a noun. So when you say the word washichula, it's a white person who's really special to you. So this Rosebud guy was using this word washichula. And remember what I just said. Washichula is a white person who is special to you. But he was putting this guy down. It didn't even make sense. That's what made me laugh. And so this shows you that native racists, they're dumb. Yeah, they're really, really dumb. So I just wanted to throw that in there. Yeah, the washichu is not a bad word, and and like I said, the racism is seeing things in a very closed mind, and when you are racist, you are limiting yourself, and you are going against your own potential to be somebody great. So if you're walking around saying proud to be Lakota, you got a Lakota sticker on your car, and you're wearing beadwork, and you have this T-shirt of an Indian head and a wolf and the thunder coming down. This is very close-minded. And that goes against the word Lakota. Yeah, it is a form of racism. So this is why I don't like seeing that. Yeah. So this and our ancestors, it's ikche. Yeah, that's common people, people who have things in common. That's what it means. We all need earth, wind, and fire and water to live, and we all bleed red. The same kind of things make us laugh, cry, get angry, and get scared because we are human. And when you can think like that, then you can really achieve great things in your life. But if you just associate with your own race and your own culture, you're really limiting yourself. You're smothering yourself, and you're racist. Yeah, this is why my students are all over the world. I don't care what color your skin is. Yeah, I don't care how tall or whatever you are. All I care is that you really are sincere about it. And that when you're looking at our culture, you have to know our perspective. And part of our perspective is having a sense of humor. That's really important. So it's not about hugging trees and prancing around with butterflies and painting your dog so it looks like a wolf and all that kind of nonsense. People do that, yeah, and they're just serious all the time, and that's not our way. That is absolutely not our way. That's a fantasy, and that's living in a fantasy way is a personality disorder because you're using it to avoid reality, which means you're in an emotional denial that there's something you're not facing, and the more you refuse to face it, the further you go away from yourself, and then you're going to lose your a certain part of your soul. When you live this way, you're going to lose a part of your soul. Uh, when you lose that part of your soul, you're really going to be in a tough situation because you know that you need that. So, anywho, these are just some comments I wanted to make on that about using anything to separate yourself from others. When you do that, you are a racist and you are going against laws of nature. You are violating the earth when you think like that. This is why I don't like these proud to be Lakota. I don't like those because our ancestors never talked like that. Never. That's a modern Western dualistic way of communication. Yeah, so for all you Lakota people that, you put these proud to be Lakota things on your Facebook page, you're going against the ancestors. You're dishonoring them because that's not how they were. And when you dishonor others, you dishonor yourself and you dishonor your descendants because you're setting the road for your descendants to be an unhealthy, codependent, abusive, racist, dualistic, paternalistic, dogmatic way. In other words, you're ruining it for your descendants. And I think that's the greatest dishonor because they're not even here yet, and you're already ruining it for them. You are despicable when you do that. Yeah? For me, it's ikche oyate. Ikjewi Machasha. I'm a common man. That's the way it works. Yeah, that's the way of the ancestors. People focus too much on their culture or their religion, and as a result, they neglect the most important part of themselves, which is their sacred center deep inside of them. Um, I was watching the news, and this um, President Obama made a really good speech, and also Hillary Clinton made a amazing speech. Yeah, she just I think she put Donald Trump in a coffin, and she stuck a stake through his heart and then nailed the coffins in, and she just buried him. Yeah, her speech was very moving, very powerful regarding what happened in Orlando, because you see Donald Trump was saying that he said basically Donald Trump said, "See, I told you this was going to happen. You don't have to congratulate me for being right." This was his response. His initial response was saying, "See, I told you Muslims are bad." That's what he was saying. And then he said, "You don't have to congratulate me for being right. I know I'm good. I know I'm right." That's basically what he was saying. And then he had the nerve to say that he was a better friend to the lesbian, gay, transgender community than Hillary Clinton is. He had the nerve to say that. And all this time, he's been racist in his comments. He's been sexist in his comments. He's made fun of people that are handicapped. And if you're not white, he basically it makes fun of you. He belittles you. This is his way to belittle, to bully. And now his response to what happened in Orlando was, "See, I told you, all Muslims are bad. This is going to keep happening if we don't kick them out of the country." That's what he's saying. And we have to put up a wall all around America and keep everybody out. That's what he's saying. So if he kicks Muslims out, the next he's going to go after black people. He's going to go after Mexicans. He's going to go after Asians. And then he's going to come after us, even though we were here first. Do you see what I mean? This is his agenda. And then he has the nerve to say that he's a better friend to the gay community than Hillary Clinton is. He's saying Hillary wants to take away all your guns. She never said that. All Hillary said is the same thing that I have been saying for years on this show, is that weapons of war do not belong in the hands of common citizens. These semi-automatic and these automatic rifles, those belong to the soldiers, but they do not belong to citizens. That's what I've been saying, and that's what she said. So she never said she wants to take away everybody's guns. She never said that. So you see what Donald Trump is doing is he's lying. He's outright telling lies. Yeah? And the fact that Donald Trump has so many supporters in America shows you that there's a lot of dumbass people in America. Yeah? And I think his latest comments have really sunk him myself, because there's smart Republicans that are getting angry at the Republican Party for not saying anything. Yeah, so there are Republicans who are coming out and they're saying they're going to vote for Hillary because they don't want this guy in office. This guy does not have what it takes. When you see Donald Trump go in front of the camera, the guy's like a circus clown. He's like a racist circus clown. There's nothing honorable about the way he presents himself. You can just see in his face is a man who hates. He has hatred in his heart. But when you see Hillary come in front of the camera, she's already acting in a very presidential way. She's already presenting herself in a very presidential way, and this is who needs to be in office. Yeah. So she made a really good speech yesterday, and I just wanted to make some comments on that. And she was talking about after 9/11 happened, that Republicans and Democrats came together, and they said we have to help the people restore their faith in our country. President Bush, as even though many people don't like him, he met with the Muslim community and wanted to encourage them, that this is not a war against you. She even had nice things to say like that. That is showing respect. And all Donald Trump did was attack. Yeah, whereas Hillary was more respectful. And when this September 11th incident happened in 2001, she said in New York City the mayor was Republican, the other senators were mostly Republican, the governor of the state of New York was Republican, and she was one of the few Democrats, but they all came together and worked for a common goal. They didn't care if they were Democrat or Republican. They came together and worked for a common goal. And Donald Trump is totally trying to separate everybody away from white America. So she made some really good comments about him without saying his name, but everybody knows who she was talking about. She's a smart woman. Yeah. So I was very emotional listening to her speech, going yeah yeah, and hollering around, and stood up and started singing the American national anthem. Yeah, off guy. And then President Obama said some very strong words, and also it shows intelligence too. Yeah, and he's questioning the Republicans, and they're saying, "Why are you letting him talk like that?" Because we know this is not the Republican way. Yeah, Ronald Reagan was a Republican president back in the. When was Reagan the president? Ronald Reagan, was it in the 80s or 90s? I don't even remember. But the son of Ronald Reagan, he loves his dad, and he said Ronald Reagan would never support Trump. Yeah, that there's a lot of very powerful Republicans that are not supporting Donald Trump. So in Trump's speech, he used the word bigly. Yeah, he said, I'm a better friend to the gay community than Hillary Clinton is." He said, and then the people are going to know about that very bigly. He said, that's not even an English word. Oh my gosh. So on CNN, they were analyzing his speech that he made, and they took it apart, and they showed that he's lying. Paired, like when Donald Trump would say, "Well, Hillary said this," and then they would take, they would look at Hillary's speech, and they would, look at her sentences, and they would show it, and it would show to you that she never said that. That Donald Trump is a liar. I'm really glad that the media is doing that. That they're showing that that he's an asshole. Yeah. In regards to this incident in Orlando, and they were talking about. Hang on a second. Where'd my all my computer windows disappeared? What did I do? Sometimes I do goofy things. There we go. All right. Anyway, Donald Trump issued a statement, and it just pissed off a lot of people in America that Donald Trump is trying to, and I knew he was going to do this. That Donald Trump is trying to use this Orlando incident as a way to say, see, look, I told you, Muslims are all bad. See, this is your proof. Yeah, this is your proof that all Muslims are bad and they need to be kicked out of America. Yeah, because the longer Muslims stay in America, there's going to be more of these incidents. See, he's using that for his own selfish political agenda. He doesn't care people who were killed. He just is using this incident for his own personal agenda. Do you know that Indians do this too? The American Indian movement does the same thing that Donald Trump does. Exactly. Yeah. Several years ago, on Cheyenne River Sioux tribe, there was a Lakota elder who received a what do you call that? A heart bypass operation. I think it was a bypass or something else. It was a heart operation, but I can't remember which one it was. And when he came back to the reservation, the CHR, which is this is on the reservation. This stands for Community Health Representative. They're people who are assistants to nurses. Yeah, they can take temperature. They know how to, inject insulin. They know how to, if somebody is sick, you call the CHR. They go to your house and they call the hospital, and they tell the hospital doctor what they see. And then if it's serious, the hospital will send an ambulance. And then the CHR will put the patient in the car, and he or she will drive to meet the ambulance on the highway. So that's how that works. Yeah. So a CHR was visiting this elder, and she wanted to look at his wounds. Yeah, from the operation. Because he was in the hospital for, I think, 2 weeks after the operation. Then they sent him back to the res, and so she was looking at his operation, and she said, "Oh, gee," she said, "those look like K's look like those are K's on where your scars are, yeah, and it looked like 3 K's, which could be Ku Klux Klan." Okay, so they called over the police. Now this Lakota elder, he's mostly blind. He's legally blind. He can't really see good. He's legally blind, so he couldn't see this. Yeah. So they called over the tribal police, and they went over there, and then they called a detective over there to see what they thought. So then they took him to the hospital to see what the doctor thought. And then it stopped right there. Why do you think it stopped? It never got any further than that. I'll tell you in a few minutes, okay? But I'll tell what happened next is this got into the media, and it was on YouTube. And the American Indian movement, they saw this as an opportunity to further their own political agenda. So they used this case, and they went to this hospital in Rapid City, South Dakota, where this operation happened, and they protested against this hospital, saying this is a racist hospital. They're saying that somebody carved in the letters KKK into this man's chest. That was the argument. Well, I wanted to see the photo, so I waited, and finally the photo was on the internet of this man's chest. Well, at this time, I used to live with somebody who's a medical doctor. So I showed her this photo, and she has friends who are cardiologists. So she showed this photo to 3 cardiologists, and they all said the same thing. No, these are not Ks. This is common. They're actually X marks. This is a common scar after this bypass operation. If you look on the internet and you look at these scars after this operation, they all look the same, or they look very similar. They're not K's; they were X's. Yeah, and it had nothing to do with Ku Klux Klan or racism or anything. And besides, Ku Klux Klan, they don't do K's. The Ku Klux Klan uses a Nazi swastika. Yeah, they don't use 3Ks. Okay, so I did my research. Yeah, so I knew that the American Indian movement was full of shit. So at this protest, the doctors called in the leaders of the American Indian movement, these Belcourt brothers, and they called them in there, and they explained to them what happened. And then after the meeting was over, the Belcourt brothers came out and told everybody to go home. They didn't want to say anything. The AIM leaders could not admit that they were wrong. And where was the old man? Where was this Lakota elder from Shan River Sioux tribe? Where do you think he was? Still on Shan River Sioux Reservation. The AIM people didn't even bother to go get him. This shows you that the American Indian movement, they don't care about you. They just see an opportunity to make themselves look good. Donald Trump is the same way. So when this Lakota elder found out that they were having this protest, he called over there. Yeah, he called over there with somebody with a cell phone. They put the phone to the microphone, and he told the people, please do not cause trouble. Do not cause any violence. He was begging the American Indian movement people to not incite any violence. Why wasn't he brought to this protest? If the American Indian movement was really a civil rights movement, they would have driven to Eagle Butte, South Dakota on the Shrine River Sioux Reservation. They would have picked the old man up, bought him some food and fed him, and they would have brought him to Rapid City and had him speak at this protest rally. But they didn't even do that. They just went there on their own, and they used this case for their own political, selfish, bullshit agenda. That's not the way of a warrior. That's the way of a coward. Yeah, they didn't even go get him. They just left him there. They didn't even care about him. They just wanted to use this case as a way to promote their own bullshit racist agenda. Yeah, and the fact is, most Native people do not support the American Indian movement. That's what I want to broadcast. I really want that to be known. The American Indian movement is a very small movement. They are all over America. This is true. But they're in small numbers. Okay? They are in very small numbers. If you ever see an American Indian movement gathering, there's not even going to be 300 people there. They had a big protest rally several years ago on their 40th anniversary, and they did this at Wounded Knee Massacre gravesite. And there was probably just about 200 Lakota people there. But people on Pine Ridge, there's about 8,000 people living there, maybe 10,000 people. Out of 10,000 Lakota people on the Pine Ridge Sioux Reservation, only 200 showed up for this American Indian movement bullshit rally. Yeah, they stood outside the gravesite, and this Belcourt guy, I don't know, I think it was Vernon. I get these two guys mixed up. But this guy proceeded to make fun of anybody who disagreed with him, just like Donald Trump. And then he made fun of the tribal politicians and called them gay. And the Belcourt brothers, they're Anishinaabe. Yeah? And most people know that as Chippewa or Ojibwe. Anishinaabe way. When you're gay, they call this two spirit. They call them two spirit people. And in their culture, these are sacred people. Okay? In the Anishinaabe culture, two spirit people are seen as sacred. So when Clyde Belcourt or Vernon was making fun of gay people, he was making fun of sacred people in his own culture. This shows you the American Indian movement leaders don't know shit about their own culture. And none of them can speak any native language. None of them. None of them can speak a native language. All they can speak is English. These guys are so full of shit. And you heard me talking about duality. You can see that the American Indian movement is a dualistic organization. This is the reason why traditional people do not support the American Indian movement. Because the American Indian movement wants to keep Indians separate from all others. When in 1971, I think it was, when they took over the Wounded Knee community for 70 something days. Was it 71 or 72? I get those years mixed up. But there were some black civil rights workers that came up from Alabama, North Carolina. They came up to help, and the American Indian movement did not want them there, and they killed them. They killed them, and they hid them in unmarked graves all over Pine Ridge Sioux Reservation. They've never found the bodies. Never. Even to this day, they've never found them. There's one that's kind of well known. His name is Ray Robinson. His family, they just want to know where his body is so they can bring him home and give him a proper burial. They've been pleading with the Belcourt brothers, just let us know where his body is. We don't care who killed him. We just want his body. And the American Indian movement is not saying anything. It's just like a mafia. This is not a civil rights group. It's a dualistic organization. And they're speaking the exact same way that Donald Trump is speaking. Russell Means, Dennis Banks, Belcourt Brothers, and Bill and Ted Means. Shit, they're all Native American Donald Trumps. There's nothing honorable about these men whatsoever. And I guarantee you 1,000,000%, if Sitting Bull and Crazy Horse and Geronimo and Chief Joseph could all come back today, one of the first things they're going to do is wipe out the American Indian movement, because this movement is a terroristic movement. They terrorize their own people. If you don't agree with them, they terrorize you. So in a way, they're kind of like ISIS too. This is not the Native American way, to terrorize your own people just because they disagree with you. That's disrespect. Yeah? Wa'ohola, they call that in our culture. That's a natural law. An American Indian movement breaks that natural law. Yeah? If you don't respect others, even if they think different, you can still respect them. But when you say they're wrong and you try to force your ways on them, then it's not respect. Then it means you don't respect yourself either. You dishonor yourself. And again, in the Lakota way, when you do things, you always have to keep in mind the future of those who are still coming to this earth. You have to live in such a way so that they will have access to these ways. But the American Indian movement is living in such a way that if the American Indian movement got their way, if they got their way, it's going to be nothing but terror. Do you want the future to come to a world full of terror like this? So when you think in the same way as the American Indian movement, you dishonor your descendants because you're taking away the road of peace from them. You are destroying the road of peace so that your descendants will not find it. That is incredibly dishonorable. That's the American Indian movement. That's what they're doing. Yeah, these guys are not men of peace. And some of these leaders, guess what they're doing? They're over in Japan and they're selling the Sundance over there. There's rich Japanese business people that are doing the Sundance in Japan. And the American Indian movement is doing this, and they're making thousands and thousands of dollars. This is how the American Indian movement funds themselves, by selling ceremonies, by selling drugs, by selling weapons. This is a mafia. This is not a civil rights group. And like I said, if you disagree with them, they're going to terrorize you. That's not the way of our people. And our way, even when we disagree with somebody, you still respect them. Respect means everybody is allowed to believe what they want to believe and say what they want to say. But when they try to force their ways upon others who they disagree with, then this is not respect. And that's what the American Indian movement does. They want to force their ways upon everybody. And if you don't join them, then they make fun of you. They belittle you. Just like Donald Trump. They do the same thing as Donald Trump. The American Indian movement is just a Native American version of Donald Trump. This is not our way. There was a museum in Wall, South Dakota. Somebody wrote that Russell Means was the most influential Lakota man since the days of Sitting Bull. That's a lie, by the way. That's the total lie. Well, a couple of years later, that museum burnt to the ground. So the laws of nature made sure that the truth was told. The American Indian movement is a bullshit organization. They're dualistic, and I do not support them whatsoever. They have come into public and have attacked me in forums, but that doesn't bother me. They've attacked me on radio shows. That doesn't bother me, because all it shows is that I'm correct. They attack anybody who disagrees with them. And I'm not attacking them. I'm showing you how they are unhealthy. That's why I explained to you what duality is. Because that duality is the foundation of the American Indian movement. But the Lakota way is not. Lakota way is founded on different concepts. Yeah, the American Indian movement is based on good versus evil. The Lakota way is not. So the American Indian movement was born in the city, in the prisons, by criminals, drug dealers, murderers, rapists. This is the foundation of the American Indian movement. Has nothing to do with civil rights. Because I'll tell you something, people, wherever the American Indian movement has gone, the situation ended up even worse than it did before. Pine Ridge, perfect example. When they went there in 1972, it was to protest the murder of Raymond Yellow Thunder, the guy that was killed in Gordon, Nebraska. They were there to protest him because at that time, the Pine Ridge tribal government was incredibly corrupt. Yeah, Pine Ridge tribal president was named Richard Wilson, and the guy was like a dictator. He even had his own private police, his secret Gestapo. They called them the goons. And he went against the traditionals. And so when this Yellow Thunder death happened, Dick Wilson didn't want to do anything. So the family made the mistake of calling in the American Indian movement. They thought the American Indian movement would set things straight. But what happened was that the situation on Pine Ridge ended up being even worse than before because AIM was killing people that if you didn't agree with them, they killed you. And then they would terrorize you. They would say, look, if you say anything, you're dead too. So for many years on Pine Ridge Sioux Reservation, people were afraid to talk. And the American Indian movement, they kept their killers there. Yeah, they kept their snipers there. A lot of the American Indian movement people are Vietnam veterans, so they're trained to kill. Yeah? So they say, we're here to protect the elders. No, that's not true. They were there to terrorize the people that if you told the truth on them, you would disappear. So they were terrorizing their own people. Then after the year 2000, some of these guys were starting to die now, and people were getting brave. And a famous court case with a lady named Anna Mae Aquash from Canada. They found out that she was executed by members of the American Indian movement. For a long time, people didn't know who killed her. And then finally, some former members of the American Indian movement came forward, and they told the truth. They told what they knew. And now they're sitting in prison for the rest of their life. And the evidence shows that it was the Belcourt brothers who ordered her death. This is a mafia. Yeah, they ordered her murder. So they raped her, and then they shot her in the back of the head and threw her over a cliff. Hands tied behind her back. Her feet tied together. In the wintertime in South Dakota is very, very vicious. That's not the civil rights group. And so the word is spreading now, yeah, that Leonard Peltier is also guilty. He's where he needs to be. Yeah, Leonard Peltier is exactly where he needs to be. This man is a murderer. He's not innocent. He's guilty as hell. And all these people who have these free Leonard Peltier rallies all over, they have no idea that Leonard Peltier doesn't even give a shit. He doesn't give a shit. And whenever there's an outgoing president in America, he has the power to free prisoners who've been in prison for a long time and that these prisoners have shown that they've changed their lives. The President of the United States can free them when he's going out. So this happened just a few months ago. They put Leonard Peltier's name in the list, and President Obama said, nope, he stays in prison. President Obama did the right thing because Leonard Peltier, when he killed those two FBI agents, he was laughing as these agents were begging for their lives. One man said, I have children. I would like to see them grow up. Ah, ha, ha, ha. Fuck you, white man. And then he shot him. That's not the way of our people. That's a mafia. So Leonard Peltier is guilty as hell, and he is exactly where he needs to be. If there was any true justice, they should have executed Peltier the way he executed these FBI guys. That would have been justice. Yeah? So when I see Donald Trump talking on the news, it's like the American Indian movement because it's the same thinking. And that goes to show you that this kind of thinking, it doesn't belong to any race. Yeah? Donald Trump is your evidence that not all white people are smart, but the American Indian movement is also evidence that not all Indians are smart either. See what I mean? It's the way of thinking. It's not the skin color. It's not the culture. And these American Indian movement people, they like to say, oh, the English language is a white man's language and that's a bad language because that's the language that was used to trick our people in treaties. Okay, if that's true, then why is it that 100% of the American Indian movement can only speak English? You see what I mean? Stupidity beyond stupidity. It's incredible. So you see, it shows you not all Indians are good, not all Indians are smart, but that argument is true for everybody. It's not the skin color, it's not the culture, it's the person. It's how they live their lives. That's what's going to show everything. Yeah. So when you live in the honorable way, you honor the earth. When you live in a way that oppresses others, even your own people, you dishonor the earth. And that is the reason why the American Indian movement dishonors the earth, they dishonor the ancestors, and they dishonor the future that's still yet to come. The future generations that are still coming, the American Indian movement dishonors them too because of their dualistic foundation. They are Donald Trump. They are the brown KKK. They're the brown ISIS. That shows you that not all Indians are good. That just because you're born native Indian, that does not mean shit. Yeah? What means something is how you live your life. So be proud of who you are, whoever you are. And don't try to be something you're not. Because it's not the culture, okay? It's not the culture, it's how you live your life. And we all have that opportunity to live our lives in a healthy way.